In a twist no one saw coming, the lawyer defending Zambia's most controversial political family is now fighting for his own survival. Makebi Zulu, the man standing between the Lungu family and a storm of legal battles, could lose his license to practice law. But what triggered this threat? Is it really about legal ethics, or is there a deeper political game at play? And why is this courtroom battle now making headlines across the globe, from Lusaka to London and Washington to Johannesburg? The legal battle surrounding the Lungu family has taken a dramatic new turn, with their top lawyer, Makebi Zulu, now facing the risk of losing his license. This shocking development raises serious questions. Is this about the law or politics? How could this decision reshape Zambia's political landscape? Why is the world suddenly paying attention? In this video, we reveal the background of the Lungu family's high-profile legal fight, the charges and accusations against Makebi Zulu, political reactions in Zambia and abroad, how the US, UK, and international legal experts are responding. This is a developing story with global implications. Stay with us, because this case is about to explode. Breaking news, global shock. The phrase breaking news, global shock suggests a significant, unexpected event with far-reaching implications, likely involving Zambia, given the context of Makebi Zulu and the Lungu family. Such an event could involve a high-profile legal, political, or economic development that captures international attention. For the purposes of this explanation, I'll assume that global shock pertains to a major legal or political controversy involving Makebi Zulu, a prominent Zambian figure, and the Lungu family, possibly tied to former President Edgar Lungu. This could include a legal ruling, a corruption scandal, or a licensing issue with international ramifications. The global shock could stem from several factors. High-profile legal case, a court ruling or investigation involving Makebi Zulu, possibly as a lawyer or defendant linked to the Lungu family, might have exposed systemic issues like corruption or judicial overreach, resonating globally due to Zambia's role in regional politics or international trade. Economic implications. If the issue involves a licensing risk, e.g., mining, telecommunications, or energy licenses, it could affect foreign investments, particularly from major powers like the US, UK, or China, causing a ripple effect in global markets. Political fallout. A scandal implicating the Lungu family, a prominent political dynasty, could destabilize Zambia's political landscape, drawing international scrutiny due to its implications for democracy and governance in Africa. For example, Zambia's mining sector, particularly copper, is critical to the global economy. A licensing scandal could disrupt supply chains, affect commodity prices, or strain diplomatic relations with countries invested in Zambia's resources. Alternatively, a legal battle involving Makebi Zulu and the Lungu family could highlight tensions between Zambia's current government under President Hakainde Hichilema and the opposition, led by figures associated with Edgar Lungu's Patriotic Front (PF). Such a scenario would shock the international community if it revealed systemic corruption or judicial manipulation, prompting reactions from global powers and organizations like the UN or African Union. Without specific details from recent news, I'll assume the global shock is a hypothetical scenario where Makebi Zulu, a prominent Zambian lawyer, is involved in a high-stakes legal case defending or challenging the Lungu family over a licensing issue that threatens Zambia's economic stability and draws international attention. This sets the stage for the subsequent sections. Who is Makebi Zulu? Makebi Zulu is a well-known Zambian lawyer, recognized for his involvement in high-profile legal and political cases, particularly those tied to the Patriotic Front and former President Edgar Lungu. While the provided ex-posts and trends do not explicitly mention him, his prominence in Zambian legal circles makes him a plausible figure in this scenario. Below is a detailed profile based on general knowledge and logical assumptions about his role in this global shock. Background and career. Makebi Zulu is a seasoned advocate based in Lusaka, Zambia, with a reputation for taking on politically sensitive cases. He is known for representing opposition figures, including Edgar Lungu and members of the Patriotic Front, in legal battles against the ruling United Party for National Development (UPND) government. His legal practice focuses on constitutional law, human rights, and commercial disputes, making him a key player in cases involving political and economic stakes. Zulu's prominence likely stems from his ability to navigate Zambia's complex legal and political landscape. He may have risen to fame through defending high-profile clients in cases involving electoral disputes, corruption allegations, or constitutional challenges. His outspoken nature and willingness to challenge the government have made him a polarizing figure, admired by opposition supporters and viewed with suspicion by ruling party affiliates. Role in the global shock. In the context of this hypothetical scenario, Makebi Zulu could be defense lawyer, representing the Lungu family or a related entity in a legal battle over a licensing issue, corruption charges, or a constitutional matter. His involvement would draw attention due to his reputation for taking on the establishment. Central figure. If the global shock involves a personal legal issue, e.g., Zulu himself facing charges or sanctions, his prominence as a lawyer for opposition figures could make the case a symbol of political persecution or judicial overreach. Whistleblower or advocate. Zulu might have exposed a major scandal, such as a licensing irregularity implicating powerful figures, including the Lungu family or government officials, thus triggering global attention. Public perception. Zulu's Zulu's public image likely varies. Supporters view him as a champion of justice, defending the rights of opposition figures against a government accused of authoritarian tendencies. Critics portray him as an opportunist or enabler of corrupt politicians, using his legal skills to protect those implicated in wrongdoing. His role in this scenario would elevate his profile internationally, especially if the case involves foreign investors or diplomatic relations. For instance, if Zulu is defending the Lungu family in a case tied to mining licenses, his arguments could influence perceptions of Zambia's investment climate, drawing scrutiny from global media and governments. Lungu family's legal battles explained. The Lungu family, particularly former President Edgar Lungu and his immediate relatives, has been at the center of several legal and political controversies in Zambia. Edgar Lungu, who served as Zambia's president from 2015 to 2021 under the Patriotic Front, faced significant scrutiny after losing the 2021 election to Hakainde Hichilema. The legal battles referenced here likely involve allegations of corruption, abuse of power, or financial impropriety during Lungu's presidency, with Makebi Zulu as a key legal figure. Context of the legal battles. Since the UPND took power in 2021, the Hichilema administration has pursued investigations into alleged corruption under Lungu's government. These efforts are part of a broader anti-corruption campaign, though critics argue they are politically motivated to target opposition figures. The Lungu family's legal battles could include corruption allegations, investigations into assets or financial dealings linked to Edgar Lungu, his wife Esther, or their children. For example, properties or businesses allegedly acquired through illicit means could be under scrutiny. Electoral disputes, challenges related to Lungu's political activities post-presidency, such as his eligibility to run for office again or his role in the Patriotic Front. Licensing issues, disputes over licenses, e.g. mining telecommunications, granted during Lungu's tenure, which may now be questioned for irregularities or favoritism. Specific cases. Without direct evidence from the provided context, let's assume a hypothetical case where the Lungu family is implicated in a scandal involving mining licenses. During Lungu's presidency, Zambia's mining sector saw significant foreign investment, particularly from Chinese and Western companies. A license granted to a company linked to the Lungu family or their associates could now be under investigation for improper allocation, allegations that the license was awarded without competitive bidding or transparency, financial mismanagement, claims that proceeds from the license were siphoned off or used for personal gain, political retribution. The UPND government's pursuit of the case could be seen as an attempt to weaken the Patriotic Front ahead of future elections. Makebi Zulu, as the family's lawyer, would likely argue that the investigations are politically motivated, lack evidence, or violate due process. He might challenge the jurisdiction of the courts, the impartiality of anti-corruption agencies, or the legality of asset seizures. Broader implications. The Lungu family's legal battles reflect deeper tensions in Zambian politics. Political polarization. The cases highlight the divide between the UPND and PF, with supporters of each side viewing the legal actions through a partisan lens. Rule of law. Critics of the government argue that selective prosecutions undermine judicial independence, while supporters see them as necessary to combat entrenched corruption. Economic impact. If the battles involve key industries like mining, they could deter foreign investment, affecting Zambia's economy and global trade. How the license risk emerged. The license risk likely refers to a controversy over the allocation, management, or revocation of a significant license, such as in Zambia's mining, telecommunications, or energy sectors. Given Zambia's reliance on copper mining, which accounts for roughly 70% of its export revenue, a mining license dispute is a plausible scenario for this global shock. Below is an explanation of how such a risk might have emerged. Background on Zambia's licensing system. Zambia's licensing framework, particularly for mining, involves the Ministry of Mines and Minerals Development and agencies like the Zambia Revenue Authority (ZRA). Licenses are awarded to companies for exploration, extraction, or processing of minerals. During Lungu's presidency, allegations of favoritism in license allocation were common, with critics claiming that politically connected individuals or companies received preferential treatment. Hypothetical scenario. Let's assume the license risk involves a major copper mining license granted during Lungu's tenure to a company with ties to his family or associates. The risk could have emerged through irregular allocation. The license was awarded without proper bidding, violating Zambia's mining regulations. For example, a company with minimal experience might have been chosen over established firms. Corruption allegations. Investigations by the UPND government revealed that bribes or kickbacks were involved in securing the license, implicating Lungu family members or their allies. Revocation threats. The current government seeks to revoke or renegotiate the license, citing legal or ethical violations. This could lead to lawsuits from the company, potentially a foreign entity, escalating the issue internationally. Economic fallout. The dispute disrupts mining operations, affecting copper production and global supply chains. Foreign investors, wary of political instability, might pull back, causing economic ripples. Role of Makebi Zulu. As a lawyer, Makebi Zulu could be defending the company or the Lungu family against revocation efforts or corruption charges. He might argue argue that the license was legally granted under the laws at the time. Revocation without compensation violates property rights and international investment agreements. The government's actions are politically motivated to discredit the opposition. Global implications. A licensing dispute in Zambia's mining sector would attract international attention because copper's strategic importance. Copper is critical for electronics, renewable energy, and infrastructure, making Zambia a key player in global markets. Foreign investment. Companies from China, Canada, or Australia, which dominate Zambia's mining sector, could face losses, prompting diplomatic interventions. Precedent for Africa. Similar licensing disputes in other African nations, e.g. DRC, Zimbabwe, could amplify the issue, raising questions about governance and resource nationalism. Political reactions in Zambia. The global shock and associated legal battles would provoke strong reactions within Zambia's polarized political landscape. The main players are the ruling UPND, led by President Hakainde Hichilema, and the opposition Patriotic Front, associated with Edgar Lungu. Below is an analysis of likely political reactions. UPND, ruling party. Official stance. The UPND would likely frame the legal battles and license risk as part of their anti-corruption agenda. They might argue that investigating the Lungu family and revoking questionable licenses restores transparency and benefits ordinary Zambians. Public messaging. Hichilema's government would use media to emphasize accountability, portraying the cases as evidence of their commitment to good governance. Criticism. Opposition supporters and neutral observers might accuse the UPND of selective justice, targeting political rivals to consolidate power. Posts on X, like those questioning judicial impartiality, e.g., reflect this sentiment. Patriotic Front. Opposition. Official stance. The PF, led by figures close to Lungu, would denounce the legal actions as a witch hunt. They might claim the UPND is using state institutions to silence dissent and weaken the opposition ahead of the 2026 elections. Mobilization. The PF could rally supporters through protests or media campaigns, framing Lungu and his family as victims of political persecution. Makebi Zulu's legal arguments would likely align with this narrative. Public sentiment. PF supporters would view the cases as an attack on their party, while critics might see their defense of Lungu as protecting corruption. Other stakeholders. Civil society. NGOs and human rights groups might call for transparency in the legal process, urging impartiality to avoid perceptions of vendetta politics. Media. Zambia's media, often divided along partisan lines, would amplify the controversy. Pro-government outlets might focus on alleged corruption, while pro-opposition media highlight government overreach. General public. Ordinary Zambians, grappling with economic challenges like inflation and unemployment, might have mixed reactions. Some would support anti-corruption efforts, while others, loyal to Lungu, might see the cases as politically driven. X posts. Context. Posts on X, such as those criticizing judicial processes or alleging political motives, suggest a polarized public discourse. The sentiment reflects distrust in institutions, with some users accusing the government of manipulating the judiciary to target opponents, a narrative the PF would likely amplify. International reactions. US and UK. The global shock involving a licensing risk and the Lungu family's legal battles would draw reactions from major powers like the US and UK, given their economic and diplomatic interests in Zambia. Below is an analysis of likely responses. United States. Economic interests. The US has investments in Zambia's mining sector and views the country as a strategic partner in countering Chinese influence in Africa. A licensing dispute could raise concerns about the stability of investments, prompting statements from the US Embassy or Department of State urging transparency and adherence to international agreements. Democracy and governance. The U.S. often promotes democratic norms in Africa. If the legal battles are perceived as politically motivated, the U.S. might express concern about judicial independence, as seen in similar cases elsewhere, e.g., Zimbabwe. Conversely, if evidence of corruption is strong, the U.S. could support Zambia's anti-corruption efforts. Public statements. The U.S. would likely issue a diplomatic statement calling for a fair and transparent legal process, avoiding direct criticism to maintain relations with Zambia's government. United Kingdom. Historical ties. As a former colonial power, the UK maintains strong ties with Zambia through the Commonwealth and economic partnerships. UK companies, like those in mining, could be affected by a licensing dispute, prompting calls for stability. Human rights focus. The UK often emphasizes human rights and rule of law. If the Lungu family's legal battles raise concerns about political persecution, the UK Foreign Office might urge Zambia to uphold judicial impartiality. Diplomatic approach. Like the US, the UK would likely issue measured statements, balancing support for anti-corruption with calls for fairness. They might also also engage through Commonwealth channels to mediate tensions. Broader international community. China. As a major investor in Zambia's mining sector, China would closely monitor the situation. A licensing dispute affecting Chinese companies could lead to diplomatic protests or negotiations. African Union. The AU might call for calm and dialogue, especially if the controversy risks destabilizing Zambia or the region. Investors. Global mining companies and financial institutions would express concern about Zambia's investment climate, potentially affecting its credit rating or foreign direct investment. What's next for Makebi Zulu? Makebi Zulu's future depends on his role in the global shock and the outcome of the legal battles. Below are possible scenarios. Legal career. Continued prominence. If Zulu successfully defends the Lungu family or exposes government overreach, his reputation as a formidable lawyer will grow, attracting more high-profile clients. Risk of retribution. If the government views him as a threat, he could face professional or personal challenges, such as disbarment attempts or harassment, common in politically charged cases. International recognition. A high-profile case with global attention could elevate Zulu's profile, potentially leading to speaking engagements or roles in international legal forums. Political involvement. Opposition ally. Zulu's association with the Patriotic Front could deepen, positioning him as a key figure in their 2026 election strategy. He might even consider a political career, leveraging his public profile. Neutral stance. To maintain professional integrity, Zulu might distance himself from overt political alignment, focusing on legal advocacy across party lines. Personal risks. Legal challenges. If Zulu is implicated in the scandal, e.g., as a facilitator of questionable deals, he could face investigations or charges, though this seems unlikely given his role as a lawyer. Public backlash. Depending on public sentiment, Zulu could face criticism from either pro-government or pro-opposition groups, affecting his practice or safety. Closing thoughts. The hypothetical global shock involving Makebi Zulu and the Lungu family underscores the complex interplay of law, politics, and economics in Zambia. The legal battles, whether rooted in genuine anti-corruption efforts or political vendettas, highlight the challenges of governance in a polarized society. The license risk, likely tied to Zambia's critical mining sector, reveals the fragility of economic stability in resource-dependent nations. Political reactions within Zambia reflect deep divisions, while international responses from the US and UK emphasize the global stakes of such controversies. Makebi Zulu's role, whether as a defender of the Lungu family or a central figure in the scandal, positions him at the heart of this drama. His actions will shape not only his career, but also Zambia's political and economic trajectory. Moving forward, the resolution of these issues will depend on the impartiality of Zambia's institutions, the government's commitment to transparency, and the ability of all parties to prioritize national interests over partisan gains. This scenario serves as a reminder of the broader challenges facing African democracies, balancing accountability with fairness, managing resource wealth responsibly, and navigating international pressures. While the global shock may fade from headlines, its implications for Zambia and the region will linger, shaping debates about governance and justice for years to come.